You know, it's really weird going back to look at old seasons of anime and seeing a list of like 15 shows total and comparing that to a modern season with 30 new shows and 15 sequels. I do this kind of thing a lot, just to obsessively and repeatedly look at the climate of the anime kingdom throughout the years, but what prompted me this time was Peach Boy Riverside. Despite being an adaptation of a 2015 manga, which by the way is written by coolkyousinnjya and illustrated by this guy who likes Toho Project, Peach Boy Riverside feels very much like it draws inspiration from anime a decade older. The early to mid 2000s brought us a lot of things, including a huge resurgence in shounen anime with the adaptations of now enormously famous series like Bleach and Naruto. And in the following years, we'd see a whole bunch of stuff trying to emulate that popular style of wacky weekly adventure story, like Soul Eater in 2008. There's just this kind of feel they all have, where they don't always have a lot of money to make it overwhelmingly visual, and they have a giant pool of ideas to pull from the source material, like off-the-wall character designs or martial arts so detached from reality that they're officially labeled as magic sometimes. And there's a whole world and fandom attached to most of those competitor shows even. You don't have to look far to find people that remember Soul Eater fondly, even if shows like Naruto are way more well-known among a general audience. The 2000s were kind of a wild time where anime was way more unpredictable than nowadays at least, despite having plenty of its own tropes to combat, and it really started to take off among Westerners around then, with every school having a group of Naruto nerds somewhere. Peach Boy Riverside really just brings me back, I guess, having a similar style of animation and a lot of reminiscent whimsy of those grand adventures with a goofy cast of vagrants fighting a monster of the week, although not nearly as long since it's only 12 episodes. It's about a former princess, Sally, wandering a fantasy world in search of a boy named Mikoto who apparently ran off to go kill as many demons as he can. Along the way, Sally runs into and befriends a rabbit demi-human named Frau, who becomes determined to follow and help Sally out due to Sally's disinterest in engaging in the otherwise commonplace racism demi-humans face. Also because she fed Frau a carrot, that also helped. Sally makes some other friends, and together they must face off against Oni, who wander the earth disgruntled with and aggressive toward human society. The setting takes influence from the popular legend Momotaro, the tale of the boy born from a peach and his band of animals who crosses the river to Onigashima to defeat the demons living there and protect his hometown. How this story is relevant to Peach Boy Riverside, I don't fully know, although it would seem that Momotaro had great power if he was able to fight Oni, and there are other people, like Sally, who have that same power. In any case, the Oni that rampage throughout the land are pretty cool. They're all just big animal monsters, but you can tell they're Oni because they got horns. Like this chicken. I especially like the big walrus one who gives humanity a grim reminder the day he busts down the wall to the city and smashes a bunch of knights like grapes. Like a lot of those older anime I mentioned earlier, Peach Boy Riverside is the kind of show you probably won't get a huge amount of exposition from about the origins of demons and superpowers. You're better off just going into it accepting the premise for what it is. Like everything coolkyousinnjya writes, the leading lady here is incredibly powerful, and you can be sure there isn't going to be some shit-ass self-insert male character fucking up her platonic dynamics with the rest of the main cast. Peach Boy Riverside leans more toward an exciting shonen than something like Dragon Maid, for instance, but it does carry with it that chill slice-of-life vibe you get from the friendships presented in many of his other works as well. For example, Sally's relationship with Frau is pretty immediately likable and cute, and the main cast does a good job dispersing personality traits around so that no one character trope becomes stale too quickly. That being said, the narrative is definitely cloddish at times, like when you hear 3 times in the same episode that demi-humans are treated like shit with no meaningful addition to the overarching discussion. Evidently, the airing order is messed up for the show, which is just about the biggest criticism I've come across, so maybe if you watch it and it starts to make less sense for you, you check to see if there's a better viewing sequence listed now that the show is fully released. After seeing 2 episodes, this wasn't a problem for me yet. I came out of it nostalgic for a time where anime strive to just be random fun instead of some half-baked serious storyline that fails at every junction to convince me it's not a thinly veiled self-insert daydream. It's not examining some hidden corner of the human psyche like some classics might have, but at least it wants to entertain you. I wish more shows could remember that idea.
Can't handle us, so cool, baby, scandalous. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So cool, baby, watch it now. It's a